You're listening to STMK Radio 100.
Remember how the economic crash was supposed to be a wake-up call for our government? People all across the country lost their savings, their pensions, and their jobs. I'm Tom Steyer, and it turned out that the system that had benefited people like me who were well off was in fact stacked against everyone else. It's why I left my investment firm and resolved to use my savings for the public good. But here we are 9 years later, and this president and the Republican Congress are making a bad situation even worse. They won't tell you that their so-called tax reform plan is really for the wealthy and big corporations, while hurting the middle class. It blows up the deficit, and that means fewer investments in education, healthcare, and job creation. It's up to all of us to stand up to this president, not just for impeachable offenses, but also to demand a country where everyone has a real chance to succeed. Join us. Your voice matters.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Also, don't miss our pre-election day coverage. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
The show you all been waiting for, COMEY.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss? Are there things that you know but haven't said that could damage President Trump? James Comey. Was President Trump obstructing justice? Should Donald Trump be impeached?
Next.
Hello?
Hello, sir. I hear you having problems putting together your new kitchen unit.
Oh, yeah, the instructions say that.
What now?
The instruction manual. It makes absolute...
Stop reading that.
Well, what would you suggest I use?
I suggest you use the fact you're a man.
Huh?
Guys who got pride never relied on no guide, sucker. I'll give you some step-by-step instructions. Buy Snickers, remove wrapper, bite chocolate, and get some nuts.
Go to GetSomeNuts.tv for more Snickers man coaching.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss? Are there things that you know but haven't said that could damage President Trump?
James Comey.
Was President Trump obstructing justice? Should Donald Trump be impeached?
Desk at lunchtime and asked me, was I free for dinner that night? And then he said, how about 6:30? And I said, whatever works for you, sir.
Comey claims at that dinner, President Trump told him, I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. In his book, Comey writes he thought to himself, the demand was like Sammy the Bull's Cosa Nostra induction ceremony. That dinner was just 1 week after the inauguration. A few months later, Comey was gone, fired by the president. In his book, Comey describes an emotional call he received shortly after from John Kelly, then Homeland Security Secretary, now White House Chief of Staff. Comey says Kelly told him he intended to quit in protest because he didn't want to work for dishonorable people who would treat someone like Comey in such a manner. Comey writes, I urged Kelly not to do that, arguing that the country needed principled people around this president, especially this president.
Oh, and there's... He's become more famous than me.
President-elect Trump's first question was to confirm that it had no impact on the election. And then the conversation, to my surprise, moved into a PR conversation about how the Trump team would position this and what they could say about this. They actually started talking about drafting a press release with us still sitting there. And the reason that was so striking to me is that that's just not done. That the intelligence community does intelligence, the White House does PR and spin.
You also said you were struck by what they didn't ask.
Very much. No one, to my recollection, asked, so what's coming next from the Russians? How might we stop it? What's the future look like? It was all, what can we say about what they did and how it affects the election that we just had? I started to tell him about the allegation was that he had been involved with prostitutes in a hotel in Moscow in 2013 during a visit for the Miss Universe pageant, and that the Russians had filmed the episode. And he interrupted very defensively and started talking about it. You know, do I look like a guy who needs hookers? And I assumed he was asking that rhetorically. I didn't answer that, and then I just moved on and explained, sir, I'm not saying that we credit this. I'm not saying we believe it. We just thought it very important that you know.
Did you tell him you thought it wasn't true, or you didn't know if it was true or not?
I never said I don't believe it, because I couldn't say one way or another.
How weird was that briefing?
Really weird. It was almost an out-of-body experience for me. I was floating above myself, looking down, saying, you're sitting here briefing the incoming president of the United States about prostitutes in Moscow. He says he may want me to investigate it to prove that it didn't happen. And then he says something that distracted me, because he said, if there's even a 1% chance my wife thinks that's true, that's terrible. And I remember thinking, how could your wife think there's a 1% chance you were with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow? I'm a flawed human being, but there's literally zero chance that my wife would think that was true. So what kind of marriage to what kind of man does your wife think there's only a 99% chance you didn't do that? And I said to him, sir, when he started talking about it, I may order you to investigate that. I said, sir, that's up to you, but you want to be careful about that, because it might create a narrative that we're investigating you personally. And second, it's very difficult to prove something didn't happen.
Did you believe his denial?
Honestly, never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible, but I don't know.
Oh, and there's... He's become more famous than me.
Wow. Good evening and welcome to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100. I'm your host, Chanel. Sax man, did you hear what that man just said?
Yeah, it sounded like he was scared.
I think he's past that.
You think you think he didn't hit a mess his pants up, huh?
Yeah, he's past that, Sax man.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
You know, the signal, pull into your mic just a little bit because the signal's saying it can't. But you know, Sax man, I want to say this is that the White House and the president need to leave James Comey alone, because they have lost that argument right there. You know what I mean?
He know too much about him. He could really sink this boat if he want to.
Not only that, Saxman, you have to look at it is he was in charge of the investigation, so he knows a lot that he's not even telling us.
Exactly.
But the problem is the line that he said that everybody should have locked into. He cannot say that President Trump was not in Moscow being filmed with hookers peeing on themselves.
Okay.
Now that's crazy.
Okay.
That's really crazy. And that line, and the problem is, with the dossier right now, some of it's been proven.
We got Charlie Sheen for our president.
Hey, but not only that, Sax man, you have to look at this right here.
Okay.
His lawyer just got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now we know for a fact that his lawyer was in Prague meeting with the Russians, like the dossier said he was, trying to clean that up. Remember, he had his passport, and he said he wasn't. But we find out now that he went, because they have open borders, he went traveling by car to Prague to meet with the Russians, okay? So this is getting thicker. And I want to say this to the people in the chat room, especially we was in the chat room earlier with my GOP friends and Republicans. You have lost the high ground right now, okay? That fake news, nobody goes to jail for fake news. If that's the case, we all in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because you have had 14 people indicted. You have had 5 already plead out. You have his lawyer, and you know why his lawyer's dropping defamation lawsuits against all these companies and all these people that said that he was in Prague, because the special counsel know he was, and now he has to give up information that he knows that the FBI already has. Okay, that raid that they did, and I want to say this, the raid they did on the lawyer's office. Okay, everybody, this is not a Democrat operation. Okay, the Democrats have nothing to do with it. They have no power.
Okay.
Period. So let's stop saying this is a Democrat operation. It's not. The Attorney General handpicked by Donald Trump.
Right.
The Assistant Attorney General Rob Rosen, handpicked by Donald Trump. Bob Mueller is a Republican. Okay. The prosecutors and attorneys for the state and the judges who signed off,
handpicked by Trump,
who signed off in the New York Southern District Court, all handpicked by Donald Trump.
That's right.
So if all Donald Trump handpicked people are signing off on these warrants, there's something serious getting ready to go down, people. Okay, it's not the Democrats doing it. This is not a Democrat operation. This is not a hoax. Okay, Donald Trump own people is doing this. And if you notice why they went to Saxman, and this is what I wanted to hit on with you as our law enforcement coordinator, is that they went to the Southern District Court. Okay, and they went to the Southern District Court for one reason, because the Southern District Court is tied in and mixed in with New York State Court.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That makes Trump's pardon.
I said, I didn't know that.
Right. That makes Trump's pardon of his lawyer ineffective.
Oh, really?
Because he faced state charges.
Oh, now see, that was something new there.
And Bob Mueller's been around. I keep telling everybody this when we talked about this before, Saxman. Bob Mueller has been around. He's the one that put Patty Hearst in jail.
Okay, I remember you mentioned that.
Okay, and he's a Republican. He knows how to work the system. Okay, he's been in law enforcement almost 50 years. He was the best FBI director under 2 presidents. Okay, that got kept on. And after his 10-year term, they kept him on. Okay, he's the one that told Obama to pick Comey. Okay, so he's going to bring more charges, and I can guarantee this for everybody to understand this, is that California and more Democrat states, attorney generals, and Ohio, because we're going to have probably a Democrat as attorney general, they're going to jump in and start suing Trump and jump in also to start taking up some of these investigations and charges.
But ain't nothing they can't do anything to him while he's a sitting president.
Well, I'm not. I disagree with that for one reason.
Why you say that?
The Constitution says that he cannot be charged criminally as a sitting president, but he can get indictments and they can wait till he gets out of office.
Well, that's all what's going to happen.
Right. Or he can be impeached on those indictments because what's coming down right here, everybody has to understand.
You actually think they're going to impeach him?
You know what? I think Trump is going to finish his term, but come November, this is the problem that I have right here, Saxman, and I'm gonna hold this before we go back and talk about going to Comey. I'm gonna say this: every one of Trump's businesses went into bankruptcy. No American bank would give him money. Okay, so he was getting his money from foreign investors, and guess what foreign investors he was getting his money from?
Of course, Russia, of course.
So you know what that means.
Yeah.
They were money laundering.
Of course.
Okay. So I guarantee you right now that if they don't get Trump, they're going to get his son-in-law, maybe his daughter, maybe his son, and his lawyer. And it depends on how far they go because his lawyer is the one that did everything for Trump.
I think it's more to their relationship other than money. I think with Russia and Syria's issues, they need Russia needs Trump in their back pocket so it can have Trump go to the Senate or go to the committee and say, look, go to NATO. We need to go in there with Syria. We need to go into Syria with Russia, and we need to bomb them.
But see, this is the difference. Trump can't do that because under the War Power Act, Trump is on thin ice right now. Okay, Obama, they threatened to impeach Obama for doing the same thing. That's why Obama didn't do nothing when they did the red line. Okay, because ISIS isn't Syria. If they was bombing ISIS, under the act that they did for the
I follow you.
2001 under the Terrorist Act. Okay, but Syria is bombing their own people.
Right.
That's a civil war.
Yeah.
We have no right to get involved in a civil war.
Right. But see, Russia wants us to get involved with
but then Trump has to go to Congress, and Congress by the Constitution is the only one.
No way, though.
But the Congress is the only one that can enact the war power.
I understand that.
Okay.
And that's why I think Russia is trying to keep Trump in their pocket so he can go there and get that done.
But I don't think that the War Power Act will be enacted by Congress, okay? Because after what George Bush did with Iraq, okay, you have to think about this. Congress is responsible for putting the checks and balances on our president. The courts is responsible for putting the checks and balances on all of them and make them come into the thing. Congress make the laws, the courts enforce the laws, the executive carries them out. Okay, they all have the same power under the Constitution. So you look at this right now. Obama was threatened to be impeached when he wanted to go into Syria. Okay, so he didn't do anything because he knew that the Republicans would not come and sign off on him to go into Syria. Okay, Trump is in the same situation, but they're allowing Trump to do what they wouldn't have let Obama do.
And that's what I was saying. That's why Russia wanted Trump in their pocket, because he figured Trump could get this off.
Right, and not only that, I think what's going to happen is that Congress come November, because it's going to change. The Democrats has won close to 58 seats since the November election.
Wow.
Okay, 58. They just took Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice slot, and let me tell you this: that area was so gerrymandered, they could have put me in there and showed my face with a box of rocks on my head, and I would have got elected if I was a Republican. Okay, so for the Democrats to take that seat, that means a lot. That means that there is some serious issues that's getting ready to take place coming in November. So you have to look at that. Come November, when that works up there, the Democrats are going to take over maybe the House and the Senate.
A couple of knuckleheads just walked in here.
You know, they're my boys right there. They always come in at the time. Tone the Stone is in the house.
I'm surprised to see you here, Sax.
Oh, don't be surprised.
Sax man, what is Jay Mack from the shop? What's up, Jay?
Just leaving the shop,
playing hooky.
rushing here to come here.
Hey, that's good, pretty good right there. Jay Mack, I need you to pull up to your mic because they telling me
you were
need
rushing
to get a
from
good signal there. Yeah, he was rushing. But as I was telling
we
them,
was listening to you on the radio. We was listening.
Oh, okay.
We were listening.
You know what?
You had a working radio on your car? Okay.
So what I was saying right there was, Sax, man, I do believe that we got some serious problems coming. But I do believe I said during the indictment, I do see some indictments coming down, and I see some serious indictments coming down. And knowing Trump,
I don't think so.
Trump's not worrying about nothing because he know they can't do nothing to him while he's a sitting president. All they're going to do is just talk a lot of stuff, make a lot of threats towards the man, and get him. They're going to get him prepared so when he with his final year come along, he going to be prepared for everything that they've been running their mouth for the last 2-3 years. Yep. He going to have everything prepared for him.
Well, what happened?
The man's smart.
What happens if the Democrats take over enough seats? Because you got 30 Republicans already say they're not running.
How many Republicans do? Okay.
It takes 2/3 of the House.
Okay, take 2/3 of the House. How many Republicans do we have that's going to run that we think is worth people voting and getting up in there right now?
Well, this is a serious thing right here.
That's serious because it ain't many.
Because you have to look at this. Most of the people that's going to come running is running up under the old. Well, they're not Tea Parties now; they're all right. So they're running on a stream policy. So that means anybody who comes up, the dog catcher, if he's halfway reasonable, he can get a seat. Look what they did to Roy Moore.
All right.
Okay. So when you come into that situation, but the question is, if they take over the House and they take over the Senate, there could be an impeachment.
Do you think Trump people gonna let that happen?
No
way.
But see, Saxman, this is the thing about this is the thing. What I tell everybody about Trump. Trump don't have people. He only have 30%.
You'd be surprised who's behind closed doors being silent.
Well, I already know that because you look at what happened. But it's only 30%.
Okay.
Because if you look at this right here, Trump has allowed people. Tony Stone don't know about this, but we put some stuff up on STMK Radio 100.
He's a millennial. He don't know much.
Yeah, but people have been saying and doing stuff like this for a long time. Okay.
Exactly.
In the 60s and 70s, under Martin Luther King, we beat it back. We didn't make it popular. That's why when people do things like what happened with Starbucks, okay?
Now, that's a funny thing.
But they're getting fired and they losing their job. But I blame Starbucks not on Trump, but I blame Starbucks on us because you know why?
Why is that?
We allow this to fester and come out. Now people they're not hiding no more. Okay? And they're using, if you go back to what we talked about last time, Tony Stone, remember, I know you took notes because I got you good there. But you remember what I told you, how they used the police department to do their dirty work. Okay.
No, I think I told y'all that because
I
don't have to go to school to understand that.
I want to
that y'all are the enforcers for these
right.
For
but it's always been. Remember, it's always been like that.
For the wealthy and the powerful.
see, Saxman. Remember, we talked about the slave patrol.
Told, I love you, man.
But
you know what, Sax? You wasn't here last week. You was playing hooky, man.
I don't play hooky.
When I saw that, I saw what happened in
like type of.
You know, he just
when I
got
saw
no
what happened in Starbucks,
what's wrong
the
with
black
him?
cop who was standing there in the background looking.
That wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. He reminded me. I said that's probably how Sax would have been if he was there. That's what I said to myself.
But you know what, Starbucks? I mean, Starbucks. But you know what, Tone? I'm gonna say this, okay? You know, I call it as it is on both sides.
Go ahead.
Those police officers was in a no-win situation.
Yeah, and trust me, they didn't do anything wrong. They followed
They
everything.
have to arrest them.
No, they did do some. Wait a minute, Saxman. They did do some things wrong.
What?
Because first of all, the first thing they should have did, okay, they should have did exactly what the police officers did. Because you got two incidents. Okay, so before we go back to Comey, because we're gonna leave Comey alone
leave
for a
Comey
minute.
out. Let's deal with this here.
They got two incidents to happen.
All right.
Fitness. What's that? Fitness Zone or Fitness Matter or whatever that is. The new health club they got
in Cleveland.
In New Jersey.
Okay.
Same thing happened. A guy who had a membership. Let me go into the chat room because they're talking about that. Okay, here we go. A guy who had a membership brought two friends to come to work out with him. He was black. He's the only black member of this club. Fitness Planet. They just told me Fitness Planet. Thank you, Control Room. And when they came in, he signed in. He got scanned in, and he signed his two buddies in on buddy passes.
Is that policy?
Yes, it's policy.
Okay, go ahead.
So now, the manager and the two people working there got, for some reason, didn't want them there. They working out for 15 minutes. They come over to the two guys and tell them that they have to leave the club because they didn't pay to come in. The guy tells them, we're here on a buddy pass, and my friend right there,
he's a member.
He's a member, and he signed in. Okay? When they told him that he signed in and he's a member, okay, they went to him. He showed them that he scanned in and he's a member. Okay, they told him they had to leave anyway, so they kept working out. They called the police. Now, two things that the police did, and I'm going to go back to this with Starbucks. The police came in. The police asked them if they was a member. The police asked them to see the membership. He gave the police his membership. The police officer went over to the thing, asked the lady to scan it. It says that he scanned in, and it shows when he scanned in, and it shows the time, and it shows that he's a member and is active. The police officer asked the manager, when did his membership expire? The manager said, we just evoked it now.
Ooh.
For real?
For real. Okay. Fitness Planet has put out a statement. They have fired all three people.
Yes.
Okay, for this.
Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, those police officers that came into,
they took an extra step to find
right,
out. I got you.
Right.
I
and the problem is when those police officers came into Starbucks,
they didn't take that extra step.
Well, I don't know what the first one did, but what he should have did when he, instead of going over to the two young men that was there, he should have went back into where the manager was at and found out why you putting them out. What disturbance did they cause? Was they violent? Did they pull any weapons? Did they cause any disturbance? Because what's going on? Because when they just went to the two people that she pointed to, everybody in the shop is telling them, hey, they didn't do nothing.
Right.
Okay? So they got arrested because when the police, this is why the state DA wasn't charged. They got arrested when the police told them to leave.
Right.
And by law, the police have to tell them 3 times. Well, not the police, because the police can't tell you to get off private property. The manager was supposed to come over there in front of the police and tell them 3 times that they had to leave the premises.
Then the police can trespass.
Then the police can have her sign the thing and then arrest them for criminal trespass.
Exactly. That's all
See, the police asked them to leave, and the police didn't ask them to leave 3 times, even by the ordinance. Okay, and when the guy said that they wasn't going to leave because they're waiting for their friend to come, who showed up? Okay, the police had already arrested them for obstruction of official business and trespass. Okay, that's where I have a problem with this act. Okay, because the police department is being used, and the officers are not thinking ahead of time on their feet. Now, I don't know if this is because it's policy. Even the commissioner had to roll it back.
Yeah.
Okay, if Tony Stone acting a fool, okay, then Tony Stone has to be dealt with. Okay, now I'm gonna go on the same token as when I said they was in a catch-22 situation, Tony, is because they asked the gentlemen to leave the premises because somebody there called them. Okay, actually, I think what the gentleman should have did.
Somebody called. Was it
the manager did?
Okay.
So what they should have did, they should have got up and cooperated with those law enforcement officers and left the premises.
But you know, everybody looking for their 15 minutes.
Well, not only they got 15 minutes, but they get ready to get paid.
Yeah.
But the problem is now the Starbucks have to close down, and Starbucks closing all their stores down.
You know why they closed down?
Well, they had to because people protesting in there.
And they closed down for training purposes.
No, I'm talking about they closed that store for a little while because they went in there and took the store over on protest.
It was countrywide. They closed every
But that's on the 14th. No, we're not yet. That's going to be on the 21st.
Oh, okay.
I just left Starbucks this morning.
Yeah, they closing every store down for training.
Right. Well, they need training because, this is the problem I have. And I'm going to say this. And I'm going to say this to all the people. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah, because they took it to the next level.
Because
that was ridiculous.
This is the problem. If I come into your establishment and I'm white and I can sit there without buying anything, drinking any coffee.
Nobody say nothing.
No, nobody say nothing. And then here come J Mac because he darker than me, okay? And I'm light-skinned, but J Mac come in, and J Mac got to go, okay? And how many people?
They gonna beat
everybody
Tone.
love me.
They gonna beat Tone. They
Everybody
beat Tone.
love
But
me.
Tone light-skinned.
But you know what?
They like Tone.
They ain't got nothing to do with light skin. They just love me, man.
Right, and then the problem is, you look at this. We keep going through the same thing over and over and over. We keep going through, and I say this: how many incidents has it been of police officers being singled out for beating up on people, hitting them and punching them and doing whatever? We got another shooting.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, let's take another step. We done had 2 shootings recently involving civilians shooting at the police and just flee off.
Well, so that's another issue right there that we're going to get into the second hour because I want to talk to Tone about that. That's another issue.
Yeah, because Tone has something to do with it. Did you know?
Our millennials are out of control. Yeah. Okay. And
don't laugh because it's true, man.
And the community.
Someone said, I mean, they tired.
These millennials is crazy.
But see, this is the problem.
This generation smarter. This generation smarter than any generation in our history of mankind.
Oh my God!
In the history of mankind.
Well, let me say this, Tone. Let me just say this. Our millennials are very violent. They're going
Society is very violent.
No.
Tone,
Millennials are violent.
Police are very violent.
Everything that's been going on the last 10 years has been you millennials. It ain't been nobody else.
Sax, man, I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna go right here.
Need some evidence.
The crime of people under 18 has increased and is very violent.
Expeditiously.
I don't think it has. I just think we got a whole lot more cameras and people are getting.
It doesn't make
it's being brought to the light a whole lot more because of the technology, courtesy of the geniuses of this generation.
In the last 30 days, you have.
So y'all should be thanking the millennials for making y'all job so much easier, law enforcement.
Well, let me tell you what's being thanked for the millennials. Okay, if we don't get it in check, let me tell you what's thanking for the millennials. In the last 7 court cases,
oh my God,
you have had 14 young men from 15 to 18 doing 45-year stretch in prison now for carjackings, bank robberies,
shooting.
And that's new how? Because I grew up with some guys that do those type of numbers, and I've lived in L.A. I've been in L.A. County with some guys who's doing hundreds of years. So this is nothing new.
And it's just coming home to us. Wait a minute, that may be true, but it's just coming home. And guess what?
Like you said,
the federal government is getting ready, and this is even going to come because it happened in the 80s, mass incarceration. Everybody talk about mass incarceration.
Oh, yeah.
The federal government is getting ready to come down with a new law, Okay, and the Supreme Court has already upheld one of the laws we're going to talk about the second hour.
Oh, yeah.
Police officers able to shoot first.
Shoot you, Tone, and don't have to think about it until after.
I mean, effectively, they're already doing that.
No. Wait a minute.
Effectively, they already able to do that.
When they do it, they don't get charged
Right.
for it.
Well, effectively, you may be correct, but I'm just telling you where the law going into.
Because they're tired of y'all.
See, this is the thing that we have to understand here, and I want to say this to Sax Man, I want to say this to Tone, and say to everybody.
Sad. I mean, if you hear Trump, he wanted to he was thinking about what death for drug dealers.
Death penalty for drug dealers.
Yeah.
But that would never fly because that's we're not a country. We're a country of laws, and that's
that's a bit too
that's
much.
harsh punishment.
That's
okay?
a bit harsh.
But what I'm looking at is this.
Death for drug dealers.
About 3 weeks ago.
That means your man Brewer. He getting a chair.
Leave my boy
smoking
Brewer
his
alone.
joints.
Leave my boy Brewer alone.
What I'm gonna say is this: marijuana legal now. But what I'm gonna say is this.
So he okay now. He just can't do it in high heels.
see, Saxon man, that's why your man gonna get you. But I'm gonna say this: if we don't check our kids and get our kids in line, Tone, and I'm gonna speak this across the board, is that with the mandatory penalties coming on our juveniles, especially the ones that's in the juvenile detention center and stuff, mass incarceration is going to massively increase,
and they're going to change
and
the way
and when you talking about 30 years mandatory, if you're gonna rob a bank, don't walk in there with a gun. You walk in there with a gun, you're doing 15 years mandatory before you even do the time for doing the bank.
That's
well,
guaranteed.
I think anybody who's going into a bank with a gun to rob it, they're aware of the consequences. They're aware of what can happen when they get caught.
Let me say this to you, Tom. No, they don't, because you know what?
You're going to talk about the lady who was crying.
The three young men that just got sentenced for robbing the Huntington Bank on Wilson Mill Road.
Yeah.
Okay, because Huntington did one step now. You just can't walk in the bank no more. Okay, they didn't stop that. Okay, but he did not understand that he's going to do 65 years. Do you understand? At 13,
he didn't plan on getting caught.
But at 13, right? And if you look at this, at 13 years old, he ain't getting out of jail till that's a life sentence.
And that's federal, so that's guaranteed
but see,
every
Tom,
minute.
You pass it off and say, well, that's on him, and everybody got to be.
So how do they learn?
I didn't say that.
How do they learn?
I'm saying I guarantee that wasn't his first rodeo.
But I guarantee it wasn't. But
so how do they
learn?
How do you make the millennials stop?
You can't save everybody, Sax.
Well, why
you can't
not?
save everybody.
So are you sanctioning? So Tom.
Let us know what you mean.
This is I know what he means, and you know what,
what do you mean?
And this is it.
Tell me what he means.
In the words of my fellow American Malcolm X, I'm gonna make it plain.
See what Tony Stone is saying right here. Tone got that nonchalant attitude.
He's a millennial.
But
I'm a realist, man.
Oh my God.
I'm realistic.
Our court system, they're building more prisons, and I understand why they're building more prisons now. Okay. Well, I ain't gonna say it's like that, Saxon man. But what we're going to say is that they're building more prisons to house our young people. Okay, and housing our young people is going back to increase the prison to school pipeline. Okay. So us as black men, and everybody sitting on this show is a black man, we have to start being creative, thinking about something to save our sons. SOS, save our sons.
Yeah, we got to think of something better than
raise our sons before the streets do. And so we got to pull them out of that.
Everybody in this studio right now already understands that. And as far as I'm concerned, the vast majority of black men understand that already. When you say that they're building these prisons and they're implementing all these new laws and regulations with the specific goal, even if it's covert, even if they won't come out and say it, like, this is the whole plan, this is the whole reason for this plan.
They don't have to have it. They letting us know.
No, you don't even know what I'm about to say.
All right, go ahead.
I get what Shada's trying to say is you need to be careful. You need to be smart. Okay, you need to watch your back. Okay, you have to be sensible. But I mean, it's nothing to disagree with that. It's not. I mean, that's
you can't blame it on there's no jobs out there.
Listen. I'm not gonna put anybody's business out here, but you can't say stop breaking the law if you know you lived that lifestyle when you was a kid. You can't say, oh, stop, do this, don't do this, especially if you know you did it when you was a kid.
Wait a minute,
Sean, wait a minute. Yes, you can because if
you can say it, you can say it, but listen, but just saying it don't mean nothing. You can say, don't do that, don't do that. What other alternative are you providing for them? You can point the finger all day and say you going to end up in prison for 60 years. What are you doing to help them, to keep them out of jail?
That's fair. That's what you just said. I agree. That's fair.
We have to get programmed.
Because my cousin and I, we had that same discussion. And he said, Sax, it ain't fair to just tell these young boys you can't do this, you can't do that without giving them an alternative. Okay,
but
I agree.
And I'm talking about you, because I'm talking about. It's not personal, because I love you. I'm talking about y'all. Y'all can tell these young dudes all day stop committing crimes. What option are you putting in front of them? What option are you personally providing to them? No, I'm not talking about the programs. I'm talking about you personally, Sax. What are you doing for them? What are you doing for them?
Tone, I've done it.
Tone, I've done it for themselves.
Right. So let's look at this. Tone.
Okay. So when you was a teenager, you ain't getting no trouble, Jay.
You know what?
Okay, and your mother, I'm sure your mother and all your people told you, don't do that, but you still went out and did it. Why? Because you didn't have nothing else to do at the time?
No.
What was the reason? What was the reason?
I wanted things the quick way.
Okay.
I wanted things the quick way.
Okay. So that's how humans think. That's how human nature works. So you just telling them point the finger ain't gonna stop nothing. What are you gonna do to keep them from going down that path?
It stopped me.
It stopped me. I don't want to go to jail no more, man.
But let me say this, Tone. Wait a minute, hold on.
All I'm trying to say is, let me just make this point. All I'm trying to say is pointing your finger and saying, don't do that. That's not gonna solve nothing. That's not gonna fix nothing.
Wait a minute.
No.
The three of us went into the service together at a young age because someone pointed their finger at us and told us to stop.
No, I got accepted to every college I applied to. I went into the service because I was wild and I wanted to do it. At the last moment, I decided on my own. I could have went to college right out of high school. I got accepted to every college.
Somebody had to tell you that, right?
No, they didn't. My mother was mad because I didn't go to college.
But somebody had to instill some type of knowledge to you, or something.
But you know, let's look at it like this right here. I understand exactly what Tone.
I know what he's saying, but he's wrong in one aspect.
Well,
you can point your finger at somebody and make it different.
Well, see, but it
worked for me.
Right, but this is the problem that the community has, Jay and Tone the Stone and Saxman. The community, the community has a problem of. Not only do we have to attack this on three levels, not just the police, okay, not just the millennials. We got to address the problem: education, schools, housing. But at the same time, our kids are out of control. Okay, so Tone, right? You just can't say don't do this, but at the same time, if they're not going to listen to the counsel that you're getting,
that you're giving them, exactly.
65 years is a long time for somebody
to
be in
be
jail.
hard-headed, yep.
Okay, or the problem is
they're gone then. After 65 years, man, what are you gonna do?
Right. Not only are they gone, it's a waste. It's a lost cause.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
And you have to look at this when we go into this, and we're going to talk about it the second hour.
So, like giving more stern advice or more stern
we're past advice. See, this is the problem.
It's not about advice.
Right, we're past advice because this is the problem that we have right now. And see, I listen to the millennial, I listen to you, Saxman, and I listen to J. Mack. And J. Mack talked about crisis where he said earlier, and you listened to what he said, he was tired of going down that road, going back here, going back there.
Yeah, going in front of court, hurting your parents. I mean, saying your people coming to court.
You gotta change.
Yeah, you have to change.
You have to change.
What do you want, man? Like, you know what? I was listening to some rap, old school rap yesterday.
All right.
Now I'm looking at the difference of how rap is now, how rap glorifies
violence
and all type of crimes.
But that's by design.
Yeah,
of course it's
exactly. I was listening to a song talking about that yesterday. How it's designed. How it's designed. I was listening to all this old school rap. And it was like leading people away from that.
Right, but see,
it wasn't glamorizing.
You have to look at two things that happen.
Today's rap is all about what you can get.
It's totally different.
No, it's not. Today's rap is not about. See, this rap started. If you go back into gangster rap, they was talking the same thing in the 80s and 90s. They was calling our women bees. They was
no. They did that, but they didn't They didn't praise selling dope.
What you think they did? New Jack City. What you think it was?
That was a movie.
That
man.
was like what 90.
It's the same thing.
That was 90.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening to rap all night. I'm listening to everything. I'm listening.
But if you
Too
listen,
short.
Wait a minute, well, no, Too Short talked about what was happening in the hood.
No. You gotta listen to him. So you can't do that. You can't do that if you haven't really listened to him. I'm a big fan of Too Short. He rapped reality. He didn't like praise all that dope. He said he never sold dope.
Right, but he rapped what happened in the hood. He talked about what was going on. And then
money in the ghetto.
Right.
People worked in
if
the
you
ghetto.
look at
Everybody lived in the ghetto. People worked. You had
right.
working class
and,
people.
and if you look at Ice Cube did the same thing. See, the problem with everybody to understand is when
I'm listening to BDP, how he was my philosophy. He was talking about how
the only person you need to listen to if you really into rap and you want to listen to something. You ain't got to go to the 80s. You ain't got to go.
Tone, the Diamond Boy Stone.
No, listen to Tupac. Okay.
Tupac
was
Tupac bipolar ass man.
He was ahead of his time, and he talked about the streets and reality. Okay, and he talked about
in Tupac last days. Tupac was very mad. He was very upset.
Well, everybody's angry.
Yeah, the wrong people. He was angry for the wrong thing.
Right, but everybody get angry. We have to look at this. When black men go through what they go through, it's very easy for us to get angry because of the struggles that we have to go through at an early age. Okay, there's nobody there. We're in a broken family. We're in a broken neighborhood. Okay,
I've been blessed.
We see, but you've been through the same thing.
I've been through some. I didn't have
CJ, every black man. Wait a minute. Every black man, and pull in a little bit so they can hear you on the mic. Every black man has been through the same struggle. I don't care if you grew up in Shaker Heights. I don't care if you went to the best schools.
I didn't have it really. I can't sit here and say I've been through all my problems in my life were caused by me.
Right, I understand that, but guess what? While you went through that behavior and you went through that struggle, guess what? Your mother went through it. Your family went through it.
And that's why I stopped.
Okay. And
a judge told me.
And when you went through that
court for me,
right? And when
look at your family, like turn around, look at your family.
And when you went through that struggle,
taking them through that.
Right? And you went through that struggle. You know what? There's 100 families just like yours in the community. Okay. Do you look at all the shootings in Chicago? Look at the shootings here in Cleveland. Look at the carjackings. We're in a war zone, and we ain't even in a war, okay? Our kids are in a war zone like Syria every day walking the streets.
The police are
Why you think they fucked up?
We're targets.
But I ain't talking about, no, wait a minute. I want everybody to get off the police. I want everybody to get away from the criminals. I want everybody to get away from the police. I want everybody to get away from blaming people, because this is our excuses, okay? Our kids are walking in a war zone. The killings, the dumping of bodies, the women being killed, the dumping of bodies, going to bed hungry, going to school being bullied because they don't have clean clothes, not getting the proper education, then be given ADHD drugs, okay? Then have to come back out after getting out of the school, walk back through the war zone and the things they go to go into a dirty house, no heat, no lights, okay? There's just that drama alone.
That'll drive a person crazy. And so you say you didn't have to experience that. You said you was blessed in that sense.
Agree with
so
that.
You can't relate to the people that have to go through that every day. And
well,
then you're gonna call them, you're gonna point the finger at them and judge them for a bad decision they make. That's terrible.
Well, Tone, this is the problem.
Terrible.
Tone, but this is the
wait, hold on. I was raised in the ghetto like that, and I didn't do that.
Wait a minute, hold on for a minute.
I'm not talking about you. But did you come up like what he just described?
All of us have to understand that. But wait a minute, Saxman. See, this is the problem. All of us have to understand that our kids are in crisis.
No. I do understand. I mean,
I know what he's saying, but a lot of us escaped it.
I did some.
A lot of us do, but a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't.
You can't escape it. You can't escape it.
Maybe not now. I did.
No, you didn't. Shit. Because you know what you did? What you did was when everybody was going through this, you went through the same thing that they was going through, but the difference is your support system.
Exactly.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
And your out was either you went to school and got education and you stayed in school, or you went into the military. They're not accepting these young black men into the military like that no more.
That's true.
Okay. They're going to jail. See, and this is the problem that we have in America, and this is what we have to worry about, and we have to get into the thing, and they flash at me that we got to go to D-Nose, because, you know, we forgot all about COMEY, so D-Nose can pick that up for us, is that we have to give our young black men as Tony Stone said, alternative. But at the same time, to get them that alternative, Tony Stone, we cannot sanction their violence on their people.
I never said that.
Okay,
I never said that.
I understand
when you said the young man was going to do 60 years, he has to live with the consequences of his decisions. I'm not saying he deserves a break.
But we have to change that attitude, because you know what? He may do 60 years, but we need to reach out and change the attitude in the community so we can help other people. But on the second hour, we're going to talk about that, because
first of all, we need to live and quit talking.
Right. But what we're going to do right now,
children look at how we live, not what we're saying.
Right. And that's a fact. Your kids do look at that. But you know what? D Knows is with us, and D Knows is sitting in the chat room with a lot of smoke coming out of there, because everybody's fired up over COMEY. And we got off of COMEY, and when we come back in the second hour, we're going to do a little bit of COMEY. Tony Stone going to do his technology thing. D, what's up? There's a lot of smoke in the chat room. Is it on fire?
Well, Chanel, the chat room is on fire, and they are letting their opinions show. The White House is really blowing it with rebutting James Comey's message, because it ends up inflating and amplifying him. Stephen Piercy. The more face time Comey gets, the more Trump falls apart. Not possible for him to compete against Comey. Not the intellect, and certainly not the character. Sonny Retallick. When you have a president who lies every day to the public and used unethical business practices to con people, like the students at Trump College, which cost Trump $25 million, you cannot believe this man. I believe Comey over Trump any day. Phyllis Hendry Nortux. Paul Ryan deciding to give up illustrates the panic the Republican Party is in. Blue wave coming, 11/6/2018. Donna Ferrara. Ha 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 ha. Trumpy, there is someone who wouldn't bend to kiss your poison ring. Yay for an honest man, James Comey. Natalie Jones. Trump's lack of discipline gets him in trouble every time. Even if he had a team that was capable of mapping out an effective strategy, he would refuse to stick to it. Reggie Place. The Republicans are so sure he is wrong that they had a start to web page just to smear Comey. Think about why they felt they had to do that. Real Deal 88. Trump was in Russia watching hookers peeing on each other, having unprotected sex with porn stars, paying out money. And this while his wife is at home with his kid. So the question again, who you believe? Well, Comey hands down. That's why the Republicans had to start a webpage just to smear Comey. And on the funny side, John is having a conversation with God while writing the book of Revelations. So, Lord, the end of the world will be signaled by trumpets? No, John. I said Trump Pence. Yes, Lord, I heard you. Trumpets. No, I said, you know what? Never mind. They'll know. And that's what's happening in the chat room with D Knows.
You know, several years ago, I was in New York City. It was a dark Saturday afternoon. The minute black woman came up, the only question I heard from her was, "You Martin Luther King?" And I said, "Yes." The next minute, I felt something beating on my chest. Before I knew it, I had been stabbed by this demented woman. That blade had gone through and the x-rays revealed. The tip of the blade was on the edge of my aorta, the main artery. And once that's punctured, you're drowned in your own blood. That's the end of you. It came out in the New York Times the next morning that if I had merely sneezed, I would have died. After my chest had been opened and the blade had been taken out, from all over the states and the world, kind letters came in. One of them I will never forget. I had received one from the president and the vice president. I've forgotten what those telegrams said. I received a visit and a letter from the governor of New York, but I've forgotten what that letter said. But there was another letter that came from a little girl. Said simply, "Dear Dr. King, while it should not matter, I would like to mention that I'm a white girl. I'm simply writing you to say that I'm so happy that you didn't sneeze. And I want to say tonight that I too am happy that I didn't sneeze, because if I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1960. And students all over the South started sitting in at lunch counters. And I knew that as they were sitting in, they were really standing up for the best in the American dream, taking the whole nation back to those great wells of democracy, which were dug deep by the founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1961 when we decided to take a ride for freedom and ended segregation in interstate travel. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1962. When Negroes in Albany, Georgia decided to straighten their backs up. And whenever men and women straighten their backs up, they are going somewhere, because a man can't ride your back unless it is bent. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been here in 1963. Black people of Birmingham, Alabama, aroused the conscience of this nation, brought into being the Civil Rights Bill. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have had a chance later that year in August to try to tell America about a dream that I had had. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been down in Selma, Alabama to see the great movement there. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been in Memphis to see a community rally around those brothers and sisters who are suffering. I'm so happy that I didn't sneeze. Like anybody, I would like to live. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Let us rise up tonight with a greater readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination in these powerful days, these days of challenge, to make America what it ought to be.
Welcome to Mafia, a new podcast telling stories of America's criminal underworld.
Gotti assumed the position of head of the Gambino family.
And using the name Donnie Brasco, I was able to infiltrate the Bonanno crime family in New York City.
Bugsy Siegel is an American mob legend.
One man changed the whole texture and landscape of crime in America.
Listen to Mafia every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.
A different view. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Today on Twitter, President Trump said FBI Director James Comey was not fired because of what he called the phony Russia investigation. In an interview days after the sudden firing, Trump revealed that the probe into potential collusion during the 2016 campaign was on his mind at the time he made the decision. Comey was on ABC's The View.
I don't follow him on Twitter, but I've seen the tweet. Both of those things can't be true. I actually think that illustrates part of the problem that I'm trying to bring up, that it matters that the president is not committed to the truth as a Central American value. So I don't know what to make of it.
Former President George W. Bush says his mother, former First Lady Barbara Bush, was not afraid of dying.
She truly believes that there's an afterlife, that she'll be wonderfully received in the arms of a loving God, and therefore did not fear death.
An island-wide blackout has hit Puerto Rico, struggling with an increasingly unstable power grid nearly 7 months after Hurricane Maria hit.
Officials say it could take 24 to 36 hours to fully restore power. Some 40,000 power customers are still without normal electricity service as a result of Hurricane Maria. This is the first time since the days after the storm that Puerto Rico has experienced a full island-wide blackout.
That's the AP's Jennifer King. The day after his mother, former First Lady Barbara Bush, died, Jeb Bush spoke today in Chicago.
You commit to something, you're supposed to show up and do it. And I still feel her looming presence behind me saying, you said you're only going to speak 30 minutes, so make sure you don't go beyond that.
Barbara Bush died in Texas. She was 92. Slade Fire, the Texas-based maker of bump stock devices like the ones used in the Las Vegas mass shooting last fall, is shutting down its business. A bump stock fits over the stock and grip of a semi-automatic rifle, allowing the weapon to fire continuously. I'm Ed Donahue, an AP News Minute.
Major art theft in Boston overnight. 2 thieves posing as police officers overpowered museum guards.
Very dramatically said, gentlemen, this is a robbery.
A part of our heritage has been stolen.
This horrible thing occurred in 1990. Everything changed because of that.
Someone on the inside helped the thieves.
From the guys who brought you Missing Maura Murray and Crawl Space.
Empty Frames will be available on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite podcasts on February 6th.
Tell you something, we gotta stop the violence, we gotta vote. Stop the violence and vote.
broadcasting station that brings you the Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 radio talk show that keeps it real, no sugar. STMK Radio 100 also presents At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller Show. Check out Brother Bill's Bible Study radio broadcast here on STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central. STMK Radio 100 does USTREAM Live TV, FaceTime, phone interviews, chat rooms, the new emerging artist show, sports talk, dance music shows, book reading shows, and much more coming very soon right here on STMK Radio 100. Contact us. Visit our website at stmkradio100.com or email us directly at stmkradio100@aol.com. Give us a call at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Call us now. STMK Radio 100.
Hawthorne from sunny California, and I listen to STMK Radio 100. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on Facebook Live.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Shawnell, Let, and Tone the Stump.
I just think about all those people, all the people around the country who are catching hell, trying to make ends meet, trying to pay their light bill, trying to keep food on the table, pay rent, and having to navigate and negotiate this stuff, this nonsense. I mean, just think about it. The President of the United States, there's a judge just said yes to a $25 million fraud to Trump University. Emoluments, Michael Cohen, his lawyer, so-called obstruction, collusion. And then you combine all of that with incompetence, with someone that you don't think has a moral center, whose narcissism is so unbounded that he will make the decision with regards to Syria. He will make the decision with regards to North Korea. And so I'm thinking about hard-working, everyday people, whether you're white, black, brown, purple, or yellow, having to live in perhaps a country that is that's in decline. And in the face of that declension is a B-list reality factor.
Hey, we back right there. Now, you know, that was a little deep thing right there. And I want to say this to everybody right there. We sit back and, you know, Tony Stone, the sax man, had a good little thing going on. But, you know, we got a little off track right there. But before we get done, we're going to go into the corner with Tony Stone and look at some technology.
Thank you, Sean. This is a new segment we got going on. It's called 5 Minutes of Tech with Tone. I'm going to try to keep it to 5 minutes at least. 5 minutes of Tech with Tone times 5. There we go. But yeah, we're going to start doing this segment every week, everybody, called 5 Minutes of Tech with Tone. I'm just going to give y'all a general rundown about news going on in technology, good, bad, great, lovely, whatever. Take the information I give you and do with it what you want. So just for starters, you know, with all the news lately, with all the talk that's been in the news lately about, you know, people's personal data and the breach of people's personal data or misuse of people's personal data by the firm Cambridge Analytica and Facebook's role in it. You know, there's been a lot of talk about the security of people's data online and social media and whatnot. So I just wanted to point out a few things in regard to that. So we're going to start out talking about people's personal data. If with all the talk going on lately, if your personal data and the security of it when you're online, whether it's be in social media or you know, whatever the business you do online, banking, what have you, you're sharing your personal media and you want to make sure it's safe and it's being used the way you know it, and you want to keep security in mind. According to CNET magazine, can y'all hear me all right?
Yeah, we hear you.
According to CNET magazine, if you're looking for the best laptop or what do they call them, tablet type of computer?
iPads?
No, not iPads. Well, according to security experts in the tech field, Google Chromebooks are, you know, the go-to laptops. They're called Chromebooks, but they're laptops for security experts. These are the ones that security experts in IT depend on and rely on overwhelmingly because they value their security benefits overall compared to all the other competitors.
Well, let me ask you this, Tone. But aren't they still in their information and everything when they go use those apps?
Well, I was going to get into that.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just saying.
Go ahead.
If with all the news, of all the talk that's been in the news lately, if securing your personal data is what's on your mind and what you're worried about whenever you log into social media, and you're going to go shopping for a new laptop, according to CNET and the security experts that they talk to, you know, so people who focus on data security in this, you know, the Chromebooks are the most reliable. Right, you know, if you're in the market.
But don't you need with your Chromebook or your laptop? Don't you need Norton or McAfee or?
Not necessarily, because especially Google, Microsoft, they have their own built-in.
But you need that built-in security. That's what I'm saying.
They come with that.
You need that. Oh, it comes with the software. Okay.
Yeah,
so you don't have to spend extra money.
Yeah, those are third-party, like Norton, antivirus stuff like McAfee. Those are third-party. You know, like they're big. They have a big share of the market because, you know, they are reliable. But I guess before they became such these security devices before they became such a standard. You know, they come with the new software. You know, McAfee and Norton, those were the go-to. Like those are probably some of the biggest, you know, in the market. But back to your data. So, of course, you're talking about people signing into social media, and that's where their data's getting stolen and everything. So, with Facebook being in the news lately, and Mark Zuckerberg talking about, having to go and talk before Congress. Of course, they're putting a lot of focus on it, and maybe this is capability that's been available before, or not. Maybe this is something they just push to the forefront with all the people's concerns about their security, or maybe it's been available and they're just bringing it to your attention now. But if you want to know all the data that Google's collected on you over the years, if you want to know all the data Facebook's collected on you over the years, you can get it. You can request that information and you can download it. And I'm talking about Google will provide your search history going back, I don't know.
So
I
what
mean,
you do?
years.
Oh, really? How do you do
years
that?
and years.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Do you I don't have time to tell you how to do it, but you can Google, Google how to download my data. Or like if you go to the Google, if you have a Google, like a Gmail or something, sign in. I know personally, Facebook, you can go right from the app. So if you go into the settings from your Facebook app, you can go to the help center, and they'll provide you instructions on how to download.
Right, but so on this, what I wanted to ask you, because in the chat room we're talking about it. But if you go on an app and you like the quizzes, because that's how that company got you with quizzes. Once you go on that app and you check that box and you share them, allow them to share, you sign in on their app with your Facebook thing. You're giving them permission to get all your information and take everything.
Well, yeah. I mean that's a whole different issue, because
wait.
If you're signing up,
that quiz part of the thing, is that a problem?
Yeah, that's a third-party app.
Yeah,
that's how I got played.
That's the ploy that the firm Cambridge Analytica, like that's how they acquired all the information, and they just used it for nefarious reasons.
Before, man, I took that quiz. No wonder my stuff was acting up.
That's my whole 5 minutes already. Listen. No, but
wait a minute, hold on. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna give you a little over. So go ahead.
So basically, yeah. That's if you had somebody the keys to your house and they go in and rob your house, you can't blame them for that. You know, you have to do your own due diligence. But if you want to know like what information is being shared, you know what information is out there on you, like that's what these these tools are for.
Let me ask you something else, Tech Man, Millennial, because somebody asking this in the chat room is flashing it to me. What is this one where the hackers get on your computer or whatever and they take your information and tell you if you don't send me $800, you can't use it no more?
That's called ransomware. And once again,
is that something you got to download? Is you hitting an app and you downloading their app on your computer, or
they can send you it in an email? There are some viruses that, like for instance, a young girl. I let somebody's daughter use my laptop. She had to do some homework for school. So she logged into her Gmail account that she uses at school. And I told her mother, like, I don't really like her being on my computer because I don't
and you got locked.
No, I didn't get locked, but
she downloaded a
virus.
Like
she had a virus in her Gmail account.
Right,
that it could infect the whole network.
Right.
Basically. You know, like once it gets in, it has the capabilities of infiltrating and infecting the whole network.
You detect the virus though?
Well, that's what the antivirus
this
software
what we're gonna do,
things
ladies
are for.
and gentlemen.
And I had that, but once she signed in on my computer, like it was like she was giving the welcome.
She gave welcome. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna have Tone and Stone. He's gonna do this every Thursday. We're gonna have 5 minutes with him, and we're gonna let him go.
You got to call me, and I charge heftily for my consulting prices.
But Sax Man, free for all Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, we going right into free for all Thursday.
Get on my nerve, man.
Sax Man, we want to go back here right now because you know what? You jumped us off of James Comey real quick, and I'm going to go back there.
Man,
the 11 most
Comey, he's a hoe.
The 11 most eye-opening statements made, and we're just going to talk about this for about maybe 3 minutes because I'm going to go into East Cleveland's case. Sax Man, Comey says this is the most unethical president we ever had. Now, I'm going to have to say this hands down. If
on the surface he appears so.
Right. If we got to choose between Comey and
I like what he just said on the surface. On the surface. Yeah, because really,
Because really, most presidents, you think of them like they all got some shady stuff going on, but they're at least classy and dignified
I got
about
a question.
Right, he's not a politician. He just
Wait a minute.
He's street. He don't know how to be a politician.
I got a question right here for you.
He doesn't know how to be politically correct.
We gonna go around the table with this for free for all. Here go question one. Trump brought up the golden shower thing with Comey. Okay. You know, the golden shower thing with Comey is when the Russians said that he was in a hotel with some prostitutes and they was peeing on each other. So
hold on before you go any further. I want to touch on that. I want to touch on each point as you go. If that's all they got on him, then he don't have nothing to worry about. Because it might be embarrassing. I mean, he may be ashamed of it because he's a married man. But if that's all they got, that's nothing to sleep over at night.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I don't care about his sex life, but I'm gonna say this. Only reason that I'm gonna say anything on the show about this because guess what? It's the double standard of the so-called Christians. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Where they went head over heels over Obama or anything he did.
Him being Muslim.
But here go a man having unprotected sex with porn stars. Married with a kid at home. Unprotected sex with Playboy bunnies. And in a hotel room with hookers peeing on themselves. That's just who he is. Okay.
He's R. Kelly White.
Right. That's just who he is. So I don't have a problem with that. Okay. But you know, when Comey was on TV and Comey said that he didn't know how to tell the man that they was going to do this. I mean, that they put this in a dossier. That's just mind-blowing with what's going on. And I really think with all the things that's going on, people need to start looking at what Trump and the Republicans are actually doing, dismantling our government. Okay? All this Russia stuff, that's for water under the bridge. The Stormy Daniel and the peeing stuff, that's for water under the bridge because he has no morals. But you put him in office, and America has to pay.
Half of America don't have no morals.
Right, and America has to pay for that. But right here, I'm going to go right here because
they are going to pay for that.
We at the bottom of the hour, so if you listen to Comey, you can listen to Comey coming down. But Sax Man, we want to go to this right here, and I want to bring in our police coordinator, Sax Man, and Tone.
I'm on vacation, man.
I'm going to ask you this, Tone, for Free for All Thursday. But we're going to start with Tone first, and then we're going to work our way around the clock.
I'm on vacation.
The city of East Cleveland is prepared to go to trial in a case against 5 Cleveland police supervisors charged with misdemeanor dereliction of duty in a deadly 2012 chase that ended with 137 shots going. And we talked about this earlier when Sax Man was talking about the chases when we was off camera, talking about the chases, police officers being shot. And we was talking about that with the millennials in the first hour.
I got dogged out. Y'all didn't know about that.
But the thing of it is this. When police officers do something wrong, rules are made. And when the rules made, nobody think about the consequences of those rules being made, but the rules are made. Now, you got 6 white supervisors being tried in an all-black city with all-black jury. They say it's jury shopping, okay? They do have some consequences to pay because they can lose 18 months of their life. Okay, so I'm going to be for real for 18 months in prison or jail is a long time, even if you're doing it on the weekends, okay? And it could have consequences on your family. Now, the question everybody want to know, and I'm going to throw it to you first, Tony Stone. First tell me how you think this is going to turn out, and then tell me if you think they're going to get a fair shake.
I think they're going to get a fair shake because, first of all, East Cleveland can't afford no type of scandals. So, not to say that these cops going to trial is a scandal, but if they get a bad trial, that's going to be scandalous on an already blighted city. So they need to the law director, the judge, whoever is responsible for this. They need to make sure that this trial is as straightforward, as possible, as humanly possible. I think they're gonna get a fair trial. I don't know if it's gonna turn out good for them. I don't know how it's gonna turn out, in a fair trial. And I've seen some good people catch a bad break. I've seen some bad people catch good breaks. So it's no telling. But I think I'm just curious, why East Cleveland is even doing this after the Cleveland officers, after the way that turned out, why they would even go down this road with all the other things they have to worry about in the city.
Because it ended in East Cleveland, so they got the right.
No, well, I'm gonna say this, Sex Man. East Cleveland doesn't have a choice because if they don't, the activists. Okay, that's why East Cleveland picking it up because the activists and the recall. So let's keep it real. So J Mac, let me come over here to you, J Mac. The officers appealed their trial before it went into East Cleveland all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court, which ruled in April that they could be held in East Cleveland and tried. And Judge Dawson ruled that he would take the trial on. Okay, and I know why Judge Dawson ruled he was going to take the trial because he was in a no-win situation. Now they are filing
as far as what you hires him
because if he said he wasn't going to hear the trial, the activists and the people of the city of East Cleveland would have held him accountable. Okay, they would have held him accountable. Okay, and he probably would have lost his judgeship. Okay, so let's just keep it real. So when the Supreme Court and everybody said, okay, J Mac, they can do this, let me see the jury pool. Do you think they can pull a jury of their peers without being done? Flat out. This is on J Mac.
I was waiting for you to ask me that. No.
Flat out.
So
because you have, okay, I'm more mature now. I could tell you, shoot, a couple of years ago, if I'm going in there, I'm voting not. Against him, regardless. But this kind of like, and it's not right. That's why I say I'm a lot more mature. It is not right, but people want some get back. All these black people out here getting killed, man.
Yep.
So Sax, man.
So I'm getting real tired up. I'm getting very tired.
Well, I'm looking at this too, and I said this earlier on the panel, and I said this earlier when we was talking.
I'm getting tired of people white folks saying it was okay.
Well,
that was justifiable.
Well, see, we go back to the Supreme Court ruling again, and I said this again.
And Sachs too, not just white people.
Right. When people look at what,
but no, some things I agree with Sachs though. Put your damn hands down.
Well,
put your hands up.
I agree.
Reaching for stuff.
Right.
If you're from the streets, you know better than that.
Right.
I'm getting pulled over. I'm putting my hands up on the thing.
But J Mac,
J
Mac, what I tell Sax, man, and I'm gonna repeat this on the air for everybody.
Sean loves the dog.
As I told Sax, man, any police officer who gets out of his car with the question and scared in his mind, he's gonna die. Every time he talks up to somebody, don't need to be a police officer.
But see, you know what? I don't have time for that. If I'm getting pulled over, I don't know what he has going on.
Well, I understand
you. Know I don't know what he has going on.
J Mac, I used to teach kids what to do when coming in contact with police officers.
Exactly. My father taught me.
And
real talk.
And my sons,
back in the 80s.
And my sons, I had that talk with them. Okay. Even though I'm a police officer, my sons are young black males out here, and they are told. And just because you cooperate with the police does not mean that it's going to turn out good. Okay.
Who taught Tone the Stone?
Okay. And the problem is, Sax, man, the problem is that everybody has to understand that.
I had to learn the hard way.
I have a lot of family in law enforcement.
Okay.
So I look at them as people. They just want to come home.
Well, a lot of us, but see, this is the problem right here. And I go back.
They want to come home.
But I go back to this. If you're going to be the police, you're going to have to take the bad with the good. Okay? And you have to understand this. If you don't call out the bad police officers, then rules and regulations going to come down on your head harder than the bad police officer. There's a movie I want everybody to go see. And I want everybody to Google and get your fire stick out. It's called The Broken Broken Shield or The Black Shield.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Cuban Gooding Jr.
No. This the one
that's
where they was the sheriff, the LAPD.
Right, the LAPD.
Yeah, LA County Sheriff Department.
When you try to be part of the good old boys, or you try to be part of the gang.
It's called the Summer Shield.
Yeah, it's the Blue Shield then.
Right.
Well,
that officer.
Blue Line or something.
That officer.
No. This is with what's the actor's name? It's him and the female.
Well,
black guy.
Right.
He's the only black guy that got on to the
Right.
LAPD sheriff.
No, he wasn't Cooper Jr. But you run this. I want everybody to Google it because there's two movies like this, and I want you to Google that and watch that movie because it explains exactly what happens in law enforcement.
Well,
we're not gonna call no department. But see, we're not gonna call no department.
Okay, we ain't gonna do it
because see,
we want to see the movie.
But see, this is the problem, Sax man.
Okay.
All departments have their problems, their dirt.
That movie you talking about, I love that movie.
But it ain't about the movie.
I watched it because it was right on point.
Right.
It was based on a true story though.
Right, but it ain't about the movie. What I want you to do if you watch that movie, what I want you to understand, Sax Man, this is what I'm trying to get the audience
Is that
to
the one
understand.
where they were hiding the cop's gun? Did he kill somebody?
No, where they right. Where they
No, this one
They were
happened.
keeping it in
hold
their
on. We're gonna
clubhouse
talk
or
about
something.
wait a minute. We're not gonna talk about the movie. Hold on,
I
Sax
was
Man.
gonna give just a bit
No,
of it so
no,
they can know what
no,
it is.
no,
If that's
no,
it, I see
no.
it. I
We ain't
know
gonna talk
what
about the
you're
movie, but what I want everybody to understand is because y'all go too far and then y'all get off point, and we got to reel it back in.
Sax would have been
okay?
in the. He would have been in the
I
club
saw the
with
movie about 3 times. I
Sax
know
w-
it by heart.
Sax would have been in the
Okay.
club with
No.
the good old boys.
But it don't make a difference, Tone, because this is the problem. What I want y'all to understand is, you two chill out for a minute, because this is the problem
You
that
know what? I know there's
that I
no
want
perfect
right here.
cops. There's
Okay.
no perfect people, period.
The
but
problem, what I
like
want
no
you to
dirty cop. I
understand
do
is
not like a dirty
is that
cop.
a police officer can make a mistake,
Yeah.
and when you try to cover for his mistake and don't be honest, in that movie,
That's what the movie.
which was a true thing, is that the person who committed the crime went into court and admitted that he messed up. And the person who lied for him is the one that did the 20 years for civil rights violation.
Got screwed up because he was trying to fit in with them. He was the only black.
That's what I want.
He
see,
was the only black cop in that.
It don't make a difference whether you black. Wait a minute,
Sax
man. Sax man, you're taking it too far.
No. I'm just giving them.
It doesn't make a difference if you black, white, Chinese. All you need to know is the basic.
Sound like cornbread earlier.
Do the right thing. Okay, you took an oath to do the right thing. And if you getting out the car thinking everybody gonna kill you, or if you getting out the car thinking that the kid gonna kill you, or if you getting out the car with a gun in your hand thinking that this gonna be the last time I'm getting out the car on this run, you're gonna end up killing somebody innocent.
Well, check this out. I feel you on that. I've never been a cop. But I watched this about a month ago. Someone posted this where the cop got out the car. He keeps walking, but he's a black man. He's a black cop. He keeps walking behind this black man, telling him to stop.
Yeah, I saw that. He shot him in the
Obviously,
neck.
I mean, this constant. He shot once up, shoot him in the neck.
But right, and you know what the problem with that video is? Okay, see, J Mac, this is what I try to tell Sax.
I've seen that video.
Wait a minute. You know what the problem with that video is? And this is something that police officers never do. And this is probably why police officers keep getting killed or getting shot, because we never sit down and Monday morning quarterback why this officer got shot or this officer got killed. And if you look at that officer walking with his taser in his hand and telling the male to take his hands out of his pockets to turn around, two things he did wrong. One, he kept closing the gap.
Yep, exactly.
But he wasn't trying to say, okay, what if this guy got a gun? He's not responding to me. Sometimes, and I told Saxman this earlier when we was off camera, sometimes you have to recalibrate what you're doing. Maybe you need to let him go until you get more people there to assist you. Okay? If you look at the shooting and the chases and everything else, in Florida, we're looking at a case right now. A Florida deputy is getting ready to do 15 years for manslaughter because he chased somebody in a high-speed chase and hit a grandmother at 104 miles an hour. Okay? They Florida prosecuted. We're talking about a state, pro-police state. You know why he got prosecuted? Because the supervisor told him not to chase the guy, and policy told him not to. Okay? And even though the guy had a gun, okay, sometimes you have to understand if I pissed you off, Tony, or you pissed me off, maybe I don't need to be the one dealing with you.
Exactly.
Maybe J Mac need to deal with you. Okay, you look at the situation.
Pissed off, you mad.
You look at the situation in Philadelphia versus the situation in New Jersey. Same situation, same people involved. Black police, white people calling them. Okay, same scenario, and you got some police officers just walked in and grabbed them, and now we got a big hooray going on. We got the police chief under fire. We got the mayor going after people, and we got everybody else coming down, even though those officers was in a catch-22 situation. Now they're have to answer to what's going on. And you go over here to New Jersey, the one officer who said, wait a minute, let me take 5 minutes. Instead of talking to these black people that they getting called on, let me go over here and talk to this person and see what's going on. Okay, and that's what needs to happen with our police department. And we're going to do a series on police thing, training. I can give you all the training in the world. But if you're getting out of a police car thinking that you're going to die, there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah, you need to get a new job.
That's right. You need to get a new job. I just told policemen that. And all the policemen in the thing, I know y'all sitting there talking about, oh, shine, oh, dog. No, I'm not dogging you. I'm saying it right now. Okay? I walked the projects at midnight by myself on a one-man beat. Okay? And I didn't walk out of those projects being superhero. I didn't walk out of them projects dogging everybody. I didn't walk out of them projects shooting everybody. I walked in those projects, giving the people in those projects the respect they deserve, and building a rapport.
You a-holes all the time, but you.
Okay.
A lot of us did that.
Well, I'm just telling you, Sax. I mean, if I did it right, if you respect it, let me tell you something. If you respect a person, okay. I remember I was fighting for my life. Somebody was trying to take my gun. A career criminal, okay. And guess what? One of the winos got up, walked over there, and helped me put him down and cuff him. You know why? Because I wasn't the policeman that came into projects every day, took his last bottle of wine that he scraped to get the 5 cents and poured it out and gave him a ticket. I told him to put a bag over it and move out of the way so them old ladies don't have to sit there.
Exactly.
He appreciate that, and he came to help me, and I appreciate that. But,
that's real.
But I want to go into something right here on Free For All, and I want to go back, Saxon Man, to you because I want to talk about something right here, and I want everybody to get into this.
He just, he got his sights aimed on my ass.
No, because you know what, Saxon Man, when you're on the show, and I want to say this to Tony Stone too. When you're on the show, people listen to you, man. People listen to the police. They want to hear the police. People want to know why these police officers are shooting unarmed black men, and people want to know. And you have to understand, when you say something, we're in 23 cities. So that goes a long way. It's a time to call out the community. It's a time to say, like I just told Tone, our young millennials and our young black males are out of control. Okay? And just like I tell everybody in the suburbs, there's nothing to steal in the inner city no more. It's all gone. All the riches are in the outer city suburbs. And you sitting there with your doors open. You're sitting there with your brand new $80,000 car. You coming in your driveway, sitting there carrying your bags, leaving doors and everything. Guess what? The vultures is coming into your neighborhood, okay? Because that's where all the goods are, okay? Our activists, I call the activists out, okay? Our activists, black activists have to get up, and they got to up their game. Art McCoy got up his game. I was on a panel, and one of black-on-black crime reporters said something about a police shooting. And I happened to respond back to him immediately. As soon as I responded back to him, and I responded back as an activist, okay, that laws need to be changed. Police officers need to be held accountable, but you can't blame police officers for this shooting because the guy got a shower head. That was the case it was. And I explained the law. Immediately, everybody came and jumped on me, okay? And I'm used to that. You condoning incompetent policing and you allowing the police to do this, you allowing the police to do that.
But that's not fair.
You're Uncle Tom.
That's not fair.
So I tell them right there, okay, well, do you know what the law, Corner versus Graham says? Because that's what that police officer is going to be viewed by. That's what the case is going to be looked at.
That's going to be his defense.
This is where I'm going to Saxon Man, because the Supreme Court just made a ruling that has shocked everybody, okay? And this is what I said about going against Hillary, our black activists. You created this problem when you told everybody not to vote for Hillary and don't go vote. Now we got Trump and everybody's pro-police. The Supreme Court just ruled that police officers could shoot first
and think later.
Then think later. Okay? And I know Tone like his favorite line, that's an unjust law.
Go ahead, Tone.
But Tone, I understand what you're saying, but this is where I want my activists. This is where I'm going with that. So I want everybody to hold into your seat, put a seatbelt on for a minute.
You want me to address that, or you
go ahead?
No, you're going to address it. But I want everybody to put their seatbelt on for a minute because this is where I'm going with my activists and what I'm telling everybody. Okay.
I don't want to listen to no activists tell people not to vote.
Marching is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Marching. If you're going to march to the Board of Elections, and register everybody, and teach people to vote and put people in office so you can change. And if the institution is not going to change, okay, and the institution is life, guess what? Then you have to go take the institution over. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You got to take the police department won't change. Okay, the police department has been trying to be changed since the 60s. The courts put us there. They put me there. I've been there and gone, and we still having the same problems. Okay, let's get for real here. Let's quit joking and let's quit putting it on the fact, and let's call a spade a spade, and let's put it right where it's at so we can have a better understanding of what we're doing here. Okay. Now, if the police department is not going to change, then you have to take over your police department. Okay? Not saying that it's going to be any better, because guess what? Everybody talking about the people that should police them should be black. But guess what? If you got black people running the police department and you still have the same problems, who are you going to put there?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So
you got a black mayor, black police chief, black commanders.
Well, I'm going to say this, Sax, man, and I hate to say this for you as being a law enforcement officer, but I think it's a goddamn shame that a black president and a black attorney general had to come into a city with a black mayor, black council, black police chiefs, black commanders, and black supervisors, and tell them that their police department is violating black people's rights in your city. That's outrageous. There's no excuse for it, okay? There's no excuse. If you are a police supervisor and of color in any city right now, there's no excuse to people under your command. I'm not talking about working with them. They're under your command. You running this, okay? You running that shift. You're the supervisor. It is unfeasible to say that these officers are out here violating people's rights. I don't care if they're black or white. Okay? I understand the mentality that all police officers stick together in the blue wall. But that only goes so far, because guess what? The blue wall wasn't there for Officer Alan Bruford. Okay?
Who was that?
A black police officer who was exonerated for killing a black suspect who was attempting to take his gun. He's looking for a job right now.
Wow.
Okay? The blue wall wasn't there for the two police officers, Sax man, who were black in the chase in Louisiana to end up killing a young man in a shooting, okay? They didn't get exonerated. The judge didn't throw it out saying the use of force, okay? They're doing life sentences in a Louisiana prison.
These are former police officers?
Right. They were police officers till they got convicted. Okay, so the blue wall isn't there at certain times. Okay, so when we talk about what happens, this is where the activists, and this is what makes me mad, is that officers do the same thing, but they're not judged the same way.
It's the same as black and white. Black people
look at the lady.
Black people don't go to jail at the same rate that white.
Well,
people
I understand it, but I'm not talking. But I'm not. But Sax man, I'm not talking about black people. I'm not talking about black community. I'm talking about police officers. Okay. Look
same
at Minnesota.
It's a black and white situation.
Right, but look at Minnesota. Right, I understand that, but I'm saying the blue wall. I expect me as a black man not to be treated justly in the court.
The CPPA ain't gonna. They're not doing nothing for nobody.
Sax man, look at the case. How fast have you seen a black police officer or a Muslim police officer after a shooting?
The one in Indiana?
In Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah, Minnesota.
Shot the white lady.
That was quick.
Okay.
Quick.
Look at Sacramento. Sacramento is a white officer and a black officer. Okay. That happened 2 months ago? Okay. The chief ain't came out and said that he guilty, he trained. The chief is fired in Minnesota. Okay? So you have to look at this. If the blue wall is going to treat officers the same, then everybody has to be held to the same standard.
You're trying to rewrite history, man.
Well, you know what, Jay?
I mean, some things. Okay, we used to sit here and say it's supposed to be like.
Look at Bill Crosby.
But some things are not going to be like.
Okay,
that.
but look at Bill Crosby. Bill Crosby is being held to a different standard. Okay, they stacked the deck against him. They lost the first trial, so now they bringing in statements that they couldn't use. The rules from the first trial is totally changed around. It's found out that the judge's wife is a activist for rape victims. and the Me Too movement. Okay, now you got 16 accusers coming into court. You got Dickerson, who has admitted on the stand
everybody knew she was lying.
that she lied so she could make money, and the prosecutor put her on the stand to tell her thing. But
that right there should have been enough to throw everything out.
But not only that,
when you bring a liar in on purpose,
the law says,
come on,
but J Mac, this is what I'm saying. The law says that I should have a fair trial and be judged by my peers. How can I have a fair trial?
He's not.
30 years later.
Come on.
I mean, 30 years later. Come on.
Listen, and that's what I meant by rewrite history.
Jay.
Man, when you have a black
wait a minute, Jay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by
they rewrote history in South Africa.
Jay, listen to this.
No, okay. In some ways, they did.
They have, because guess what's happening right now?
No, they rewrote they did the cosmetic surgery. They didn't do the down.
Yes, they did, because white farmers now have to give up their farms.
I ain't know that.
No, I didn't know that either.
Okay, apartheid.
Yeah.
Apartheid. I like to say apartheid. Okay. Okay. So listen.
That's French.
Listen, what's coming down. Okay. If there's a book you want to read and the story hasn't been told yet, Jay, guess what? The millennial know you got to write the book. You write it. Don't let Sean tell you how to write it. Sit down and write it. We got to change everything. Guess what we're going through right now? We're going back through Reconstruction right now. I ain't going to go to 1861, but I could. But we're going through that right now.
No.
Because guess what? Our millennials has dropped off the map. So we got to rewrite the book. We got to give them education.
All right, I'm going to have to stop you right there because first of all.
Here we go.
Oh, you're the smart one. Oh,
No. First of all, what are we talking about at this point? Because we done kind of went around the world.
I was just telling Jay about the blue wall and about holding people to standards and about rewriting the book. He said that we're going to rewrite the world. You know, you asked him to rewrite history of the world, and I'm telling him that we're going to have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what a revolution or a evolution is. You know, it's things changing, people evolving, mankind evolving, revolutions happen. That's rewriting history. So if we're in the midst of a revolution or we need to start a revolution, that is what it is.
What there's a difference between a movement and a revolution? You know,
yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, definitely
know
is.
Difference.
Yeah,
a movement is when you're moving forward and you constantly keep moving. Revolution is when it comes back around.
And we got and you know what, Sex Man?
Revolution.
You know what, Sex Man?
That's called revolving.
It's revolution.
And we gonna have to do that.
To be a part of a revolution, you have to have major sacrifices. And I don't think today's people.
But see, I want to be part of a movement.
But you got to sacrifice. You know what, Jay?
See, that's a very cynical statement to make.
Come on.
See, this is why. I mean, this is where I take issue with.
Go ahead.
All three of you,
okay,
as a matter of fact,
go
because
ahead and say it.
I think a lot of it's pessimistic to think like that. Like. You just mentioned the Me Too movement. What else?
That's a movement.
Okay, but my point is these are. What did you just say, Jay? You said the people don't have the motivation.
No, he said it's sacrifice. Sacrifice.
Okay, so these. So
okay, what I'm saying is okay.
Somebody have to sacrifice.
Okay,
so I think these people are sacrificing. They're these women.
I mean,
and since I'm just it's not just the Me Too movement, but since we mentioned that, we'll focus on that one. These women are putting their jobs on the line to stand up for what they believe.
No, you know where I want you to go, Tone, because you're not far enough with me.
What?
See, I'm not Jay, and I'm not Sex Man.
Okay.
I want you to go to South Africa, to the apartheid movement.
Okay.
Where, as Jay said, somebody has to sacrifice. And the sacrifice is your life.
Okay.
Okay. I don't want to.
Right.
That's where we are at right
let's
now.
go here.
Look,
I was watching this movie.
If a tone go out there in South
Serafina,
Africa, that's what's going to happen.
It really inspired me.
Light skin, man. They gonna think you white.
These young children, 16, 17 years old.
What's that, man? Ain't about
fight and sacrifice, fight and go against in apartheid times.
Right. I seen the movie. I know what you're talking about.
I mean, they went against like tanks.
Right, and
they fought. They were and bullets and everything.
And be careful, because this is where we at right here.
Okay,
sacrifice.
And these guys, mothers and fathers, they're because y'all not that old, but y'all. So y'all was probably babies during that time.
No, I was 10. Let me tell you this.
10 years old.
I was 10 years old.
But my point is, you know, those people, they face death. They got hung. They got lynched. They
But
got
you know the
attacked by
difference.
dogs.
But
They
you
got
know what the
beat. They
difference
got
was.
hosed down.
But you know what the difference was, Tom?
What?
Nobody. They sacrificed themselves, and they sacrificed. Nobody went to the ultimate. See, when Malcolm X said, and I'm gonna bring this home, when Malcolm X said, "By any means necessary," actually, what Malcolm X was saying, eye for an eye.
Yeah,
Okay,
but, okay,
for people like Saxman.
So that's what you're referring to when you said take it back to the apartheid.
What I said, right, when I said take it back to apartheid and the sacrifice was those individuals was dying for what they believed.
Right.
So when those 20 kids,
you don't think that's what the people with civil rights was doing?
Civil rights, they was
yes, thank you.
they was committing themselves, but guess what? They didn't commit themselves they didn't mind dying or getting killed, okay? But that wasn't on their mind. They knew they was gonna get beat. They knew they was gonna go to jail. They knew that
they was doing it for
the
a good
Klan.
Cause. They figured
that's just as brave to me.
You can tell that Martin Luther's last speech.
That's just as brave.
He knew his time was coming.
But the difference over there was they took the fight to them tanks, okay, with Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, they did.
See, there's a difference with being passive. Listen to what I'm saying for a minute. There's a difference with being passive and asking for a change.
But this is a different situation than apartheid South Africa.
No, what I'm saying is this. We are going into a part right now where it may come to that, but the problem is everybody willing to make that sacrifice?
If it comes, okay, I'm going to tell you like I told somebody before. I had a guy, because I personally, basically what it sounds like you're talking about is the race war or something like that.
Well, not even a race war, because you don't have to, because you can have black and whites together. It's when you go into a situation right versus wrong.
Okay. So
exactly.
this is what I want to say about that. Okay. Well, let me make this point first, because not about a race war. You know, me personally, I feel like I hope that never happens. I feel like that should be any type of war, man. Any type of war should be a last resort. So if that's your first idea, if that's your first instinct to go to war, you are part of the problem, because you're not going to do nothing but solidify yourself as an enemy with whoever you're going to war with. Okay, so that's not going to solve any problem.
Are you willing to make Are you willing to make that ultimate sacrifice for what you believe in? That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
But that's
Jay?
That's really not got nothing to do with what we talking about.
I have to be put in a situation like this to be.
Well, it is right around when you go back and listen to where we started at.
Because give me an example of what you mean by putting your life on the line for what?
Okay,
with all the things we've been talking about.
Here go the whole thing. Okay, you go into the situation that we find ourselves into right now, and going back into the 60s and 50s, and our young black men's fighting themselves into. Okay. A lot of it's caused by miscommunication and Philip Rob, and then a lot of it's caused by Saxman and them doing, because I'm gonna say Saxman because you love that, but people doing.
You ain't even the real Saxman, man. The real Saxman just passed away. God bless him. Cleveland Saxman, he just passed away this week.
So what I'm saying, Tom, is that
rest in peace.
What I'm saying is, at a time when you keep trying to do the change the proper way, and sometimes you have to change up. Okay, that's what they had to do in South Africa. And South Africa.
Well, I can't say that either though, because what if Martin Luther changed up? What if he started getting violent?
Well, see,
that would ruin the whole movement.
Well, see,
people looked at him like he was a dummy.
Gandhi. You have to look at this too. Martin Luther King took Gandhi's approach.
No. He took more Jesus' approach.
Well,
he followed Gandhi in certain ways, but he took the main. I read his book.
Okay.
He followed Jesus. You had to sign a piece of paper saying I followed the
right, that you wouldn't be violent. That's was the difference between to most of our leaders. That's actually where the divide comes in at. Okay, because when
some say fight, some say
right. The passive. See, some was passive and died.
But you know what? But you look at this.
Wait a minute. Let's go back.
No, always look at this though. If you watch the movie X. Remember Malcolm? I'm not even so much if you read the book. Remember Malcolm said, it's like he speaks about Kennedy getting shot. He said the chickens came home to roost.
Right.
That's how he died.
Right. And
that's how he died.
But you know the problem.
That's how by his teachings. That's how he died. The people who killed him, he trained them to kill.
Right, but you have to look at this, okay?
He trained them to kill.
But by the time Malcolm
so his chickens
changed,
came home to
right,
roost.
by the and that's
why I said look at his.
Look at Trump. His chicken's coming home to roost.
Yeah, his philosophy compared to Martin Luther King's
because when you do wrong,
which started with Jesus Christ.
When you do wrong, right trumps wrong, and we always reap what we sow. Remember what the Bible said: you reap what you sow.
Yes.
Okay. So if you put it out there like that, it's coming back around.
Yeah, that's the revolution I was telling Tone about.
It comes back around, just like I said earlier that we need to have our millennials put in check. Okay, because if we let our kids continue to run wild, okay,
and fight and tear up,
it's going to come back around. Because we're going to be fighting our kids.
Those millennials.
Because guess what happened? Whether Tone realized this or not, that's why mass incarceration was allowed to take place and happen.
During the Bill Clinton era.
But it wasn't Bill Clinton. See, this is the problem that everybody gets, Saxon. Man, this is the problem.
Ronald Reagan.
Okay? But not only with Ronald Reagan, but this is the problem everybody gets. It's the fault of the black. It's the fault of the black caucus and the black leaders. Okay, because the black caucus and the black leaders allowed Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton to build prison and to incarcerate our kids and start the prison to school pipeline.
I mean, because I don't think there was nothing in their power to stop
it. It wasn't their power to stop it.
I don't think in their power to stop
it wasn't their power to stop because they went to them and asked them for this law because of the drug crime and the Crips and the blood and the crack the crack with the crime, the crack addiction, and the violence of it. Okay, it's just like right now the violence. People tired of the violence. So guess what they're going to do? If the community won't come, and this is what I said earlier, if the community won't come and sit down and talk about how to change our kids, then they're going to go to the courts and everybody and say, we want this done. So that's when you're going to have the tanks coming in. That's when you're going to have more police officers coming in.
That's why you're going to have laws like
this
shoot
is why
first
you're
and
gonna
ask questions
okay,
later.
because that's what happened under mass incarceration. It wasn't Hillary Clinton, okay? We're talking about some of the same leaders that marched with Martin Luther King, signed off on that bill. See, this is the problem we got. We want to blame the white man, and we want to blame everybody else, but we don't want to sit home and say, this is what we let happen, okay? We let our kids down.
You know, Sean,
Sean, that makes us look bad.
I'm going to say this.
Like
I'm going to say this.
I
don't know what show it was, but I said it in one of them older shows that it's our fault. It's the way we raising our kids. We're not doing it right. And I got bashed for it.
Well, it's not. No, you know what the problem is, Sax Man? You didn't get bashed for it.
I did. I got bashed.
You know why you got bashed for it? You know why you got bashed for it, Sax Man?
I was just telling it like it is.
You know why you got
bashed?
Well, you know why you got bashed?
Why I
because
get bashed,
you said in a way where you put down our millennials or you put down our sisters. Or
I say because they raising them, they not treating them right, and they
right.
raising them with respect,
you have to,
any home training.
But
I
Sax
say,
Man,
they wasn't raised with any. Their grandmama's probably 30.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. It shouldn't matter. They
sensitive.
need to quit being so sensitive.
But
exactly.
It's not how you say it. You can say it and say it in the
what?
proper way.
Hold on.
I got bashed. I got bashed for telling the truth.
Especially you being an elder of mine. Okay. I mean that's how I was raised.
Right.
If you say something to me about me, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check it.
Okay.
I mean, that's what's where I'm at now.
That's how I am.
Sure, I'm gonna check myself. Now, if what you said was right, and you said it a funky way, I ain't like it. I ain't gonna check you about saying it the funky way. I'm gonna be like, well, you could have said it different. No, I'm not. I'm gonna check myself because if I was acting a certain way, I wouldn't have heard that. I don't like hearing that. I don't want to hear that again.
Well, I agree with you.
And I was hoping other people.
I'm not gonna get mad at you. Like, I don't like the way you talk to me,
John.
Like,
I was hoping other people like you was listening and caught the message.
But John,
people got sensitive in their way and didn't like.
John, let me say this: when you call our sisters,
people are not.
Wait a minute. When you call our sisters welfare whores. And
I didn't use the word whore.
And baby mamas.
I never used the word whore.
And all this other. Okay, when you call our kids thugs.
I did say thugs.
Okay, when you talk about our millennials in a way like that, you're doing a disservice because when you call me
it's
a thug,
not really a disservice.
Wait a second, man. When you call me a thug, or you call me a nigga, or you call me a low life nigga that need to be in the projects, you lost me. Okay, you lost.
Fox News and MSNBC.
I can feel that.
But wait. Listen.
Yeah.
But Fox News and MSNBC said it before I did.
But guess what?
And they said it on TV.
Sex.
Nobody said
Sex,
nothing
man,
about
guess
it.
what?
I repeated it, and
Sex,
I got
man,
dogged
guess
out.
what?
What?
Fox News is a racist organization. So you looking
So
at
they should have been more madder at them than me. Them being a racist organization.
But you expect that.
You should check it.
I mean, you don't get mad at a dog for barking.
Wait, hold that thought. Hey, right there.
Dogs do. Dogs bark.
Hey, right there. Hold your thought. Hold your thought. Because guess what? Everybody? We having such a good time.
Yeah,
once
we
again,
forgot what time it is.
We forgot what time it is. And everybody, next week we're gonna get together. We got some things coming down, and we want to thank everybody for being with us.
Yes.
But hold on.
Fan base is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes. So I was told, following the ramble down the yellow brick road, but people leave at the end, ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Hey, from Studio 51, yeah, we're going to be on the air next week. We're doing some election stuff. We're going to probably have some politicians come in. Saxman is going to take the control of the ship coming up, and he's going to take his lead. J Mac from the shop. What's up, baby?
Man, I'm trying to get in where I fit in, everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get in where I fit in.
You in.
I'm in, okay, I'm in.
You in right there. Tone the Stone, the Diamond Boy.
The millennials.
The light-skinned boy.
Yeah, we got them all upset. We've been all over the map.
Diamond Boy, get it right. Diamond Boy.
Diamond.
Welcome back, Sax. I expect to see you here from now on, man. Don't miss no more.
As long as I don't get
man.
sick no more, I'll be all right.
All right, we're going to keep it rolling.
Yeah, we're going to give him a break.
Hey, we got our man Saxman in Studio 51. Saxman.
Yes, sir. You know, I want to ask Tone a question now. Doing this little rap thing at the end of the show, because I know that's you. I recognize your voice. That's you rapping. You know, you kind of like went out a minute on one of the lyrics. What
Well,
was
that's
that?
Shiny Mac. So.
You sure that wasn't
Who
you?
is this? Is this who is
That's
this?
Tone,
No,
man.
that's Shiny Mac right there. But you know what, Saxman?
I retired from rapping
Hey.
20 years ago.
I thought it was Leon.
Hey,
I mean,
everybody right there. I'm your host, Chanel, and we want to thank everybody for being with us.
Thank you, everyone out there in TV land and
Right.
watching that show.
Everybody.
I thought it was Spring.
Next week, until next week, peace.
Peace.
Love.
Peace.
See ya.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100.